and deny the existence of this other
the other
thing.
one.
And you fight it with everything you... And so I at least know what I'm, on some level, rejecting, but not even entirely rejecting.
Yeah.
But it's... I don't know, there's a lot of, I think the word God is so, it's been so sullied. I mean, what bad press.
For me, I don't, my belief with others is that, if you have a solid, sense of faith that's based in God consciousness.
Right.
And it enables you to have hope and be a moral person and process things and diminish some of the existential terror that is so readily available.
Right.
Good for you. Yeah. God bless.
I talked to my friend about it last night, and he said people who are very kind of anti-God and even the concept, it's almost like they haven't sat with death on some level, because when people are dying, they call out to God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but they want it to mean something.
Yeah, but there seems to be some primal programming within us that has some dim memory of something
bigger,
larger than our.
I recommend reading The Denial of Death to everybody that comes on this show.
I don't know that book.
Well, it's a very important book. It changed my life. And I've talked about it many times here. Yeah. Ernest Becker, The Denial of Death, which is fundamentally about, the almost, primal need for human consciousness to feel connected to something larger in order to define itself.
Right.
And find comfort, in the face of existential terror of mortality.
But I feel that in some ways we have to choose our stories. Like, for instance, I could choose the story that I was like horrible and never going to work and everyone hated me. Or I could choose a different story, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I could also choose a story where I'm just like a bag of neurons and molecules that's an evolutionary accident.
Yeah, but you can be both.
But I think so. I mean, I think look, this body's going away.
Look, if you got to believe in poetry, you got to believe in magic. And the weird thing is that not magic, but you see, the thing is not everything is rational, and not everything can be explained. I mean, you can explain it by probability, by coincidences can be deconstructed mathematically.
Right.
But the truth is, if you don't allow some room for something poetic, for something magic, for something surprising, without the need to explain it.
Or explain it away.
You do a great disservice to your heart.
I 100% agree with that.
And I believe that. It's like, I'm wary to say I believe in God because I have not identified it, but I am completely willing to have faith and think the best of people, despite what people think of me. And I'm completely willing to look around me and go like, this is really fucking amazing. And you can't explain it.
Yeah.
And if I really think about it, I get overwhelmed. You stand in front of a mountain and sure, I know there's geological realities, there's weather realities, there's agricultural realities, there's there's a lot of things happening, but the majesty of it I choose to appreciate and not explain, so I can feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
Like I would argue that rational is there's a fine line between that and just control freakness.
Yeah, I kind of feel, why argue with those people?
Well, why argue? And also, like, like, I don't identify as an atheist, but I have a hard time with mythologies. Like, I have a hard time with naming God. I have a hard time with, like saying I believe in God, but I certainly have faith in something, and I certainly don't seek to explain it away.
Right. I mean, but that to me is like kind of standing in the space of mystery and possibility.
Well, people get mad at that too. Come on.
You got to decide
one
why.
thing or the other. I don't have to do anything for anybody.
I know.
Like it's like I don't want to go through the exercise of having you go, see, I won. You can't answer it.
Yeah, and then also like your victory means what? Like for you, like, okay, great. I now believe I'm a bag of bones.
Yeah.
Like,
I do a bit about that, I did it on my special, just about how it's really about winning. There's no solution.
Right.
If you're going to talk someone out of their God, you better put something else in its place other than this rudimentary idea that everything being explained by math equations.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Do you know David Eagleman, the neuroscientist? He says that science knows like 5 to 10% of what there is to know. Like literally, there's like 90 to 95%. Yeah. They have no idea. Yeah. And matter itself, there's only 4% of the universe's material.
Yeah.
so there's 96% that's dark matter. We don't know what it is. It's not nothing. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So he says science can't declare atheism. It can't declare belief. And he calls himself a possibilian.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. He said, that's what, and all these people are like, yeah, I believe in possibilianism,
Yeah. So where does the reincarnation thing play in that you mentioned?
I don't know. It's just like some weird.
It's weird though. Here's what I really believe though.
Yeah.
Is that who knows if that is going to be true or it's not going to be true?
Yeah.
All right. First of all.
Yeah.
And, if you want to entertain that and it makes you feel hope or good or curious or it's provocative to you, it's like, that's your right. And, why not? There's no, you could keep it to yourself. You could share it with other people.
Yeah.
You're probably better if you keep it to yourself. But the truth of the matter is hanging your hope on something, is a personal activity.
You have to get to a certain point in your life where you have the time and space and resources to even chew on these questions.
Sure.
Like if you don't have a place to live,
No.
and you don't know where your food's coming from, you're not gonna.
Unless you actually don't have those things because you've chewed on these questions.
Right. You're that guy.
Yeah.
Meditating.
Working it out.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back before we talk about, the show you've been doing for half your life that I quite honestly know not enough about.
That's cool.
Notice it's not cool. I should do research, but how am I going to research? I'm going to sit down and watch 9 seasons?
Yeah. Don't do that.
But the last show's on tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something you can spoil for everybody?
Well, it's a 2-parter, and
it is.
Yeah. It's an hour long.
Oh, but it's all going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
Are people going to get closure?
I think that's something that they'll get.
Yeah, it's all going to pay off.
I mean, look, there's a lot of kind of dangling threads of the show, and they almost hit all of them. They get everything.
Well, what was the plan of the show initially? You couldn't have imagined. I mean, I guess this is the best of all worlds. It's even better than the best. I mean, how many did you do? 200?
208.
So it's going to be in syndication for the rest of your life. You're going to be making money while you're sleeping for the next 20 years. And did you have any real, I guess that's the hope when you get a role on a sitcom, but this has been a defining thing. But you know what is interesting, and I got to give you credit, is that, I saw Us Holloway's movie, Afternoon Delight, which I liked a lot, and I had her and Catherine Hahn in here, and you did a great job in that.
Thank you.
And the thing that you did a great job at, which is just of no power of your own, just by virtue of the fact that you're a good actor, is that, and also by the fact that I'm not obsessively watching the other show, is that I didn't associate you with anything.
Oh, that's good.
It is good.
Yeah.
Because that's a tricky thing, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's different phases of an actor's life. I mean, the first phase is no one knows who I am and no one wants to hire me. And then if you're lucky, you get a part that becomes that's what people know you for. And then you have another problem, which is trying to get out from under that. Exactly.
Well, that's a TV actor specifically.
TV for sure.
Yeah, and a hit TV show specifically.
Exactly.
There's certain people that have made the jump, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. So, when you were in high school, was this where you were going?
No, I was just a stage obsessed. I was theater obsessed.
Because I'm noticing on the levels here, you were one of the rare people that project perfectly, because you're not even on top of that mic, and the levels are great, and I commend you for that, and your ability to detach from your TV part. I'm just blowing smoke up your ass left and right to make up for the fact that I've watched 3 episodes of your
on
your
airplanes
show.
When you had no choice. I get it.
But am I the target audience?
I don't know. I'll tell you, there's no such thing as a target audience at this point. I have met people. I have. People, it cuts across everything now. It's not, you think it's urban 20-somethings love the show. College kids love the show. It's not. It's a lot of people.
Well, because the ensemble's so fucking good. I mean, when it comes right down to, the success of sitcoms, I mean, whatever the context is, it's how
just, do you want to spend time with these people?
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And they're great people. I mean, Jason's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's great.
Yeah. I mean, we really a lot of shows where you have that kind of ensemble, when they don't work, it looks like, they got cast.
Yeah.
It literally looks like just a bunch of actors that got the parts.
That's why things don't make it past that pilot.
Exactly. And for whatever reason, we felt like a bunch of people that sit around and drink beer all day together.
And did that last?
We never lost the feeling of that we really felt like we were friends sitting around. Like I always describe it more like family than friends in that we didn't pick each other.
Right.
And we saw each other on our best days and our worst days and all that.
Right.
And we didn't, after the first season, we weren't really hanging out and having dinner. That's what everyone wants to believe. We had lives. Like we had, people had kids and projects but when we were there, it was always super easy and felt organic in a really cool way.
That is an interesting thing about that, though. Like, even when I've done radio or something where you spend 4 hours a day with this guy who's your guy, you're talking on the air and you're working. Like, sometimes when you get done with that, you're like, what are you going to hang out more?
Like, you don't want to bring the office home with you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then people assume, like, you guys all must be. No, I can't.
I know.
I mean, I'm sure you have everyone's phone number.
I got him. Yeah, I can text him right now. I don't care. I'll text him right now.
He's like, Jason, what's up, man? But okay, so the plan was stage.
Yeah, but it was also like when I fell hard for acting, I got really scared because no one from my family was an actor, no one from my community was an actor. She was an elementary school teacher, and then she was mom, and she was a guidance counselor.
I'll tell you, man, so many people who are creative people have parents who are teachers. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that says, but they must have been, reluctantly supportive.
They were cautiously supportive. My dad only realized...
better word, cautiously.
Yeah. He revealed to me years later how terrified he was, but he held it. He hid it, which was really good for me.
Because he wanted you to be happy and be able to
I mean, I was also very judicious and kind of smart about how I revealed information and when. So I would...
What does that mean?
So like they didn't want me to go...
You've got it all figured out. You've got mortality figured out?
No, I have not got it all figured out, please. They did not want me to go get like a BFA, like go to Juilliard or something.
Sure,
they wanted me to get a liberal arts degree.
Yeah.
That was the requirement.
Right.
So they also wanted me to not major in drama, but I ended up just spending most of the time in the theater department. I mean, I took all kinds of classes, but I ended up declaring a drama major, which they were okay with because it was kind of more academic. But then every summer I would go to do theater, on the East Coast, or every summer I was actually doing it. So
like stock, summer stock?
Yeah, like non-equity companies.
But you were castable pretty early on. You got a handle on it.
I don't know that I was castable as much as I just was really enthusiastic and found the places I wanted to go.
And what plays did you do in high school? I always like trying to picture the plays that people do.
The first play I did was Oklahoma.
Of course.
Yeah. The second play I did was Cabaret. I played the MC in Cabaret, which was kind of a watershed moment for me. That's where people started going, you could maybe do this.
And you were singing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you can sing.
When asked. I don't do it like, I don't just do it all the time. It's more like, we need you to sing right now. Yeah. And then I'll kind of...
But the high school experience for a lot of people who act as musicals, so that's what you do.
It's also the most fun thing. I mean, my community is pretty homogenous,
Yeah.
And, socioeconomic and everything. And I started working at this children's theater that every summer would do, musicals with like 16 to 21-year-olds, but it was from all over Central Ohio. It was kind of like the best people would go for the summer. Mm-hmm. So I did like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstar, Into the Woods.
Were you Jesus?
I was Pontius Pilate. I had to kill Jesus. Come on.
Jew.
Exactly.
Let the Jew kill Jesus.
Exactly. Don't think I didn't notice.
Yeah, who directed that show?
And then I just found I felt at home there. I felt at home among the difference, like the combustible weirdness of everyone being there, but we were drunk on the theater together. It's
a pretty amazing thing because even last night and I notice this a lot now that like I'm 50 or whatever. But like I was waiting to go on stage at the Redondo Performance Arts Center just for Adam Carolla's podcast. There's like half a house, but there's it's a big theater. That someone built it sometime, and then you had the big flats, and I'm just behind the curtain, wandering around, waiting to go on, and you have that moment. You're like, this is my life.
Yeah,
I'm in show business.
Oh yeah, it has not ever dimmed for me that feeling.
It's
like
cool.
When you go see a friend like in a Broadway play,
right?
And you kind of like get to peek out on the stage in the empty house.
Yeah,
it still feels really holy to me.
It is.
It really, especially in empty theater. There's something, in liberal arts, there's a scene in an empty theater that I used to perform in because we shot it at Kenyon.
Uh-huh.
And to me, I don't know, there was something so magical about being able to go in there.
Well, the weird thing is that once you have some chops and you've been in the life for a while, you don't always think of it that way because you're sort of like, well, I'm going out and I'm going to do my thing.
Right.
But then like when you really step back from it and realize what you've committed your life to and you can't quite identify the difference, what happens between behind stage and on stage and the magic.
Right.
That you enter the space. For me, I guess I'm just projecting, but like sometimes I'm just fascinated when I'm on stage with somebody else and I'm watching them talk and there's an audience of hundreds there and there's just a person talking, but it's magic.
Yeah. I also, I do this thing where I try to, when things happen to you, I think in show business and we metabolize them very quickly. You're like,
right.
So, something that you couldn't imagine happening, suddenly that's your life.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, you process it very quickly. And I always try to remember, this 16-year-old me.
Yeah.
Like how psyched he would be.
Or terrified.
Or terrified. Yeah. But he would be pretty psyched. Like, and I think I exceeded his kind of dreams on some level, which is, I don't know if they were dreams,
sure.
but like, that's a pretty cool thing. And also, I also think about the fact that a 16-year-old boy in Ohio decided what I was going to do for my life. Cause not a lot of people, that happens.
Yeah,
a lot of people,
yeah.
You know, that's
sure.
That was fortuitous. You know?
I never thought of it that way. Cause like, I always felt like I want to do comedy. I had no idea how that happens because like, at least when you want theater, when you're 16, you're like, well, I can go do a little of that. I get a feel for that. Like I had this weird thing that like, I don't know how anyone does that.
When did you start doing it?
In college. I tried it a couple times in college, at events, at college shows. But, it wasn't until after I maybe my third or fourth year of college where I actually went into a comedy club. But I was, there was no joy in it. I was just paralyzed with terror all the time.
They must have gone well enough for you to want to do more.
Well, I think it's a compulsion. I think the beauty about acting is that you can enter this zone and enter a character and be supported by, a cast and a lighting person and there's a community behind it.
Right.
With comedy, it's sort of like you're this lone wolf.
It is the starkest, scariest
it's
kind
very,
of thing.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, you're not sure, you need to get laughs.
Yeah.
But, you've got your 3 jokes when you're starting. You
Right.
got 5 minutes and all you do all week is worry about when you're going to go up there with your shit.
Yeah.
So it was more of a sickness than a,
yeah.
But
the victory is purely yours and the failure is purely yours.
That's exactly
right.
What I
mean?
And to have that stage, to be on that stage, I think about that a lot too as a performer, is sort of like you kind of earn your territory, on stage. Like, how am I going to own this thing?
Right.
And it's really up to you as a comic. It's sort of like you push, you pull, and eventually you fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So in high school, you do musicals.
Yeah.
When was the first, how ridiculous was the first serious role?
Oh, I went to Kenyon and my first play was about a schizophrenic poetess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you the doctor or something?
I was her boyfriend. Like it was, I think it was called Standing on My Knees or something.
I
don't even remember, but it was, it was like suddenly and it was in like the lower cafeteria. You know what I mean? Like where they put theater wherever they can find it. Like,
it wasn't the drama school, the stage troupe or whatever?
Yeah, it was like a, offshoot, like one of the they had like 8 drama clubs at Kenyon. So it was like,
but that's just a liberal arts college, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's footage of me actually doing, what was that play, that horrible play? Was it called Extremities, where the guy locks that woman in a...
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's footage of me doing that at like 19 or 20.
When you fully understood what was going on.
Just intense and angry and off base. And I did it for someone was in a TV production class, so they wanted to shoot it.
Right.
So it wasn't even a play.
So it's preserved.
Yeah.
So you can watch it all the time.
Yeah. I don't know who has a copy.
I always love, like, in college and grad school, how you got to play like old guys.
I know you do.
But I did Awake and Sing, the Clifford Odets play. I played like the communist grandfather in that play my third year
How was
at
the
NYU.
makeup? How was the makeup?
It was pretty good, but I looked like that actor Armin Mueller-Stahl. Do you remember that guy from Shine?
Oh, yeah,
with the mustache.
Yeah.
And I really think it was maybe one of the best things I've ever done, because I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't know, this is ridiculous. I'm 24. Why am I playing this 70-year-old communist from wherever he was from?
Yeah.
But there's something that you throw yourself into those things and you actually have moments of magic because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
And when you get out into show business, they're like, no, you look like this and you'll be playing this.
Yeah.
It's very, like, narrow.
Right.
What they expect you to do.
So you got a drama undergrad degree?
I did. I got a BA and then I went to NYU.
But what was your minor? Was it English or?
Well, I was going to be an English major, but I was going to double major, but at Kenyon you had to do compulsory exams, like you had to either do a huge kind of thesis or, and the drama comps were actually kind of hard. You had to do a production and an oral defense of it and a big test at the end of the year.
What do you mean a production? You had to direct it?
I started, and I did this Donald Margulies play called Sight Unseen. And then you have to have an oral defense with the professors where they kind of pick it apart.
Really?
Yeah.
What? But I thought that's only happening graduate level.
It's a thing at Kenyon. You have to, every major has compulsory exams. I'm pretty sure they still do.
So would they just grill you?
Yeah.
Really?
Basically.
Like what kind, like, so you just acted in that play?
Yeah.
And what are they like, why'd you make that choice?
Kind of. But the play was non-linear. It was told all, and they were asking all sorts of questions. I ultimately realized they were asking playwriting questions that I couldn't answer. And I think, it was fine. Everything was fine.
So, okay, so you graduate, you do good undergrad?
I did. I did.
You felt confident as an actor?
I mean, I did. I actually had logged a lot of hours on stage.
Now, were you doing all the other stuff too, or
yeah, everything.
Like, did you build sets?
I did that when I apprenticed at like theaters. Where you have to hang lights and do concessions in addition.
In summer stock?
Yeah.
That's because that's part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's an interesting little community. It's kind of sad when things end. I guess it's the same with a TV show.
Yeah, and I'm prone to nostalgia, so it's never good. Oh, yeah.
Really? What are you nostalgia about? The pre-successful you?
What am I nostalgic about? Like, I mean, I can work myself up into a nostalgic kind of lather about anything.
Really?
Like even time, and it just has to do with time itself passing.
Right, but is it in the form of like things were better then, or is it in the form of like, oh, remember when we used to?
Just that it's over and it will never be again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. I try to stay out of it, even though like I surround myself with all the garbage of my entire life.
Right.
I have books from college. I have photographs of my first girlfriend there. My second wife. It's like ridiculous because like some people be like, "Well, are you hanging on to that?" No, but those big periods of your life.
I know, and I do question how much I should be steeped in that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think about it all the time, but in some days I think like, why not get rid of all of it? Mm-hmm. Because like if it's in your heart, it's in your heart. You don't have to have triggers. Is there something comforting? Is this some indication that like, oh, I've lived, I've collected all this shit? What do you surround yourself with that you think you should get rid of?
I mean, my house isn't in, it's not like this dump.
No, I know. No, I'm a little bit of a stacker.
Yeah, I mean, you have...
Not a hoarder, I'm a stacker.
Yeah, I have, the posters and the things and
from
it was
play.
kind of, about the set, like everyone keeps asking. It's like these journalists or these reporters, what are you going to take from the set? Like is a big thing, which I didn't even realize we were supposed to take anything, but I did end up taking one.
What did you take?
I took this iconic prop for my character is this blue French horn, which is something he steals for this girl in the very first episode, and it kind of recurs throughout. So Carter and Craig, the creators of the show, gave it to me.
Oh.
And that's something, very sweet to have.
Yeah.
But,
were you guys, were you tearing up on that last episode? Or
it was like a 2 week.
How many times have you been asked that question?
It was a 2 week kind of thing. I got really teary. Everyone did at the table read. The final table read was pretty emotional.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone's kind of
And then the last moment, it was Siegel had his last day. And it was the scene where the five of us were going to be together for the last time. Mm-hmm. That was pretty emotional.
Were people kind of crying?
Yeah. I mean, Allison Hannigan, like, they actually wrote her character into the whole episode crying because they knew she was just going to cry no matter what. So why don't we just have her character crying? And she was actually happy about that. She's like, really smart move.
They know her.
Yeah. But then I had a lot of emotions I found myself actually really, the last day I was really like, sensitive and angry about things, and I was like, wow, I'm just a mess right now. Like I sometimes I don't.
You weren't able to feel.
Yeah, and then I started to feel things a few days after, so you'd have a delayed response.
Yeah, well, like it's weird when you really find out that, when some sort of like, kind of an entire shift in your life, something you've been committed to for so long is really going away. It's like a mourning process.
And very few people, especially actors, have that stark a demarcation line. I mean, 9 years is like who does anything for 9 years anymore? Like anywhere, in any profession.
I just can't believe that, like, it's weird because, like, when I met you that time, I automatically feel a connection to people in general. And that, like, I knew you were hanging out with Jessie, I knew, her, and we're Jewish. And so I had something invested in whatever moment we like,
right.
But initially it was probably like, no, that guy just got out here and he's got a show already. So
I hadn't been out. I've been out here longer than you thought I had.
But you're a very nice guy, and because of that, like now the second time we even talk, it's like on the other side of this. It's 9 years later.
I know, it's weird, and that's also scary because of the. Like, I don't know if this, I don't even think this is going to be very stupid what I'm saying, but like, time is moving fast, like, and it seems to be just really moving fast in a way that is alarming. A lot of that's what liberal arts is about, because I went back to Kenyon to show my first movie, and suddenly everyone was calling me Mr. Radner.
Oh, yeah.
And I was I was just drinking out of that keg right there. How are you? And I realized I was nearly twice as old as like the freshman there. And that really freaked me out. So
because there's part of a special, you're not married.
No.
And well, I mean, it's weird because I'm the same way. I'm not married. I don't have kids. And I think that something gets tempered.
Yes.
About your acknowledgement of age.
Yes.
When you have those kind of responsibilities. When you don't, there's part of you that's sort of like, hey, I know these kids. This is me.
Yeah.
Right.
And the central thing, Richard Jenkins in liberal arts, he tells me since he was 19, he's never felt not 19.
Right.
Like but his face in the mirror, he can't believe that it's not a 19-year-old face.
Yeah.
And then the line in that scene that he says at the end is, nobody feels like an adult. That's the world's dirty secret.
That's your dialogue.
Yeah.
You're a big thinker, man.
It's reflected. It's just.
You don't like when you're writing, I don't know what your process is, but with the first film, was that lighter than liberal arts?
They're both kind of a mix of, funny, sad.
But do you find that you're working out, like, because you seem to be weighing the bigger questions, and you seem to have a dialogue around a lot of them.
Yes.
But do you learn more about that dialogue through your characters, or do you
100%. I mean, I write, I'll get a big, so for liberal arts, for instance, I said, okay, 35-year-old guy, doesn't have a lot going on.
Right.
Goes back to his college that he loves for his favorite professor's retirement dinner.
Right.
Meets and falls for a 19-year-old sophomore.
Right.
Like, that's what I had just as the bones.
Which is like, in and of itself, like, as a story, it's completely relatable and
yeah, it felt like there was a lot to it. But as I started writing, it became about time, nostalgia, aging, books, why we read, what the purpose is of an education, how liberal arts education can both serve you and also get in your way on some level.
Well, what did you learn about that? How does it serve you? Because I know how it served me.
I mean, I think it serves, critical thinking, empathy, stepping into
opening your
shoes.
Mind.
Yeah.
Empathy, interesting.
There's a James Baldwin quote I just saw that was so amazing about the loneliness he feels in the world corresponds. It goes down essentially the more books he reads. So the more connection he can make with other people are feeling these things too.
Right.
It makes you feel less alone in the world. He
Sure.
said it much more beautifully than I just did.
Well, I think that's important about conversation in general.
Yeah.
And not just books, but I imagine if you were stranded, that, reading books would, so you're saying it grows your capacity for emotional understanding.
Certainly. And it exposes you obviously to other cultures and other perspectives and all these things. And it exposes you to other people who are, chewing on these big ideas all at the same time at a very sensitive time. I mean, that college age time is
if you take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I do a lot of college speaking, and I actually love doing it because I find that those.
You seem like a teacher.
I've come from teachers, but they're kids who are like really open, and I think that even today, like the college kids in my unscientific sampling of them seem less cynical. They seem like really open to stuff.
I think kids seem less cynical in general.
Yeah.
I think that when I grew up, you're what, 30, what'd you say?
39.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 10 years younger than me, but when I grew up, there was still this weird crashing wave of the 60s.
Yep.
And there was a type of, you were aspiring to, your role models were different. A lot of them were grittier and I just think in general that kids are a little more detached from, I think culturally everything's changed. I think they know a lot more.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure the internet has something to do with that.
Sure.
In the same way it's like the Baldwin thing, like actually seeing, if you're a lonely kid living in wherever, and you feel like you can actually find a community online that are a bunch of little yous.
And we're going to assume that's good.
Sometimes it could not be good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I have no idea, man.
It's still the Wild West.
It really is,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of what these generations are going to... They're all going to adapt. I mean, that's the other thing, that once you get to a certain age and you find yourself saying things like, when I was younger, it's like, that's been said every generation. And obviously things are a lot different now.
Yeah.
But, people are still people. They're still contained in this vessel. They're only capable of one thing, and adapting is one of them.
Yeah.
But, the nuts and bolts of emotions are going to be what they're going to be, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things in liberal arts is, she says, she basically feels like he's patronizing her, like, when I, like, I feel different now than I felt when I was here. And she's like, but every stage is hard.
Yeah.
But he says, but I felt things when I was here that I no longer feel, and you don't know. Like, for instance, I always think about How I Met Your Mother was on 9 years. That's high school plus college plus 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how different you were your freshman year of high school to your first year out of college.
Well, you were 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like do you feel that you were able to sort of mature through that, or do you think that you were some sort of suspended in a way?
It's both, honestly. I mean, I feel I had massive changes go on, but I also look at my life and it's not that much. I mean, I'm still kicking around. I'm still like...
No, you seem very, very similar to the 3 minutes that I talked to you last time.
Yeah. Well, I've worked at that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important in show business. You kind of got to, like, choose your heroes wisely.
Who are yours?
Just like nice, awesome people that I've met along the way that you kind of collect and say, you work. We had a ton of great older actors come through How I Met Your Mother, and I thought, oh, this person's great.
Did you develop relationships with them?
Yeah, I've hung on to,
Like
Bryan Cranston was on pre-Breaking Bad, John Lithgow, Franny Conroy, Martin Short, like just awesome people.
And you're friends with them?
I'm having dinner with Martin Short tonight. Actually,
That must be entertaining.
We've never done it, but we'll
really?
See. Yeah.
What,
I'll let you know.
Why now?
Because we'd been trying to do it. You know, I ran it. We did the thing, and then I ran into him after we saw Pippin. And I saw him backstage, and we just struck up this funny conversation and decided to have dinner.
Isn't that interesting? Like, just coming from that. Like, obviously, you were on this hit show, but, to come from where you were when I met you, and then there's that moment where you're like, can I hang out with Martin Short?
Yeah. I still have it a little bit. I'm like excited, but I'm also like, how many Three Amigos questions am I allowed?
Right. And what are we going to talk about?
Can we talk about Inner Space? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Where he went in the Dennis Quaid in his body?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's got great stories, and he's a very funny guy.
It's weird also to be working alongside people that you grew up watching.
I know.
That always...
I mean, I don't know. I know from talking to them, but yeah. But it must be a trip.
Yeah. And it's great because it also is a great leveler. You know, you feel like we have a common thing. Like, we're doing the same thing. Like, when I think John Lithgow is like a totally great talent and the nicest guy in the world. And I watch him and I'm like, he does it better than I do, but I do the same thing he does. We're in the same biz.
Yeah, it's a profession.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing moment to reach a level of professionalism and also career where you accept that and you realize that.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both art and craft.
Yeah.
Like it's like watching a carpenter or something. Like, you're like, they look at what they do, but they do it extra special or something.
Sure.
And I'm always stealing from people. You're always watching people so you can steal stuff from them.
Like what, technique or what? Like if you're watching Lithgow, what'd you learn from him?
Well, I did a series that didn't go anywhere with Sally Field. Before, yeah. It was called The Court, about the Supreme Court. I was one of her clerks, and I was just shocked at how little it looked like she was doing. And then you'd watch it back and you'd see how much she was doing. And it was, I had come from the theater, so I was all like, big. Get it to the back of the house. Right. And I found that there was something about the minimalism of it. Oh, and this is weird, and maybe I should bring this up tonight, but I think this was a Martin Short quote that I've always thought about, where he said, people say in the theater, you be as big as you can, and on screen, you be as small as you can. He said it's actually the reverse. In the theater, you try to be as small and subtle as you can, but still have it read to the back row. And in film, you want to be as expressive as you can without being too big for the frame.
Tricky.
It's tricky, really tricky, and I still feel like I'm refining it all the time.
Well, I found that too. Like, I worked with it's weird. I'm talking to you, and I've completely dismissed the fact that I've done 2 seasons of my own show. I'm like, this guy's an actor. Like, but I'm not like, I was not a trained actor. But like, even working with Sally Kellerman, who played my mother.
Yeah.
you know, like we'd go over these takes, and when you're in it, you have, after a few takes, you have no idea what you have. And
Right.
you can't tell what makes people great. And then when you watch it back, you're like,
Right.
oh my God.
Well, a lot of times, like either movies I've directed or How I Met Your Mother, you think you're like doing great acting because
Yeah.
it feels like this is great. You're
Yeah,
like throwing
yeah.
a chair across,
Yeah.
and then you watch it and you're like, that's grotesque.
Yeah.
And then something where you just weren't even, you were just listening, for instance.
Yeah.
And you find yourself like, wow, that's really watchable.
Well, that's the trickiest thing, is listening.
Yeah.
Like when you watch yourself, you're able to like, I know when I do okay and I'm better at watching myself, but
Yeah.
do you find that when you judge yourself harshly and watching in the edit, that maybe you're the only one that notices?
Well, yes, of course you're going to be your hardest critic, but the greatest thing I did for myself as an actor was edit myself, to direct 2 movies that I was in, and you lose, I became really ruthless with myself, but not in a super judgmental way. At a certain point, it wasn't even like, oh, I look good or I look bad. I was just like, okay, I get what I look like.
Right.
You know, there was some sort of acceptance of like, that's what I look like.
Right.
That's what I don't like when I make that face. I'm never going
Right.
to choose those takes. But you get really good at, I just found that I learned a lot about myself as an actor, and editing myself has been just as valuable for me as an actor as anything I've ever done.
But it's interesting. I've talked to a few actors, and not to disregard, anyone's who has a conversation is going to give me what they're going to give me. But it seems like you've got a lot of plate spinning for an actor.
Well, I think also
Because you want to direct, you are a writer.
A couple people told me early on. They said you might not get everything you need from acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think there's a few people, like Philip Seymour Hoffman. To me,
I just watched it Flawless last night.
he had a career that was like so big, like he did everything.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a satisfying career. I mean, there's so few people that actually can kind of call their shots as an actor and actually do really meaningful creative work all the time.
Do you want to go to the depths that he went to?
No, not even, no.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe once with the great director who's going to support me and hold my hand the whole way. But that's not, I work from joy, honestly. Like, I don't work from, when I'm depressed, I can't create.
But what if you were called upon? Because even in, like, I really liked Jill's movie.
Yeah.
And there was a turn in that character that you played's life where, his wife is starting to drift. And then when the reality comes, the struggle of accepting what she wants to do in order to sort of, save the marriage in a way.
Right.
That, it was heavy because I've been married and you played that frustration, which was relatively dark.
Yeah.
When you,
that stuff I like. I mean, I
Right.
like complicated, interesting, like I'm supposed to do this indie that is super dark and like I'm happy to do that. I just don't want to, expose a vein all the time,
Do you have it to expose?
I think I do, but
Yeah.
but I need to feel safe on some level, or that the space is held, and that I try to create that for actors when I do stuff.
So it's interesting. So when you do an indie film or stuff, like, and they might have these expectations of you, there's sometimes a moment where you're like, I don't feel comfortable, doing that. You're right.
Well,
here.
Soloway, I mean, I'll do anything for her.
Sure. But like the idea of feeling safe or that someone's going to hold the space, takes some gravitas to do that.
I think so, but you also, the longer you do it, you become someone who can kind of bring that in. You bring your own, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you bring that with you, that permission.
Right.
You give yourself permission to do it or you don't, but I think if you're working on a project you believe in, you'll give yourself permission to kind of go there, so to speak.
Now, how do you feel like now? Okay, so tonight's the final episode. Everyone's going to get. Do you think it's going to be a satisfying close for all the fans?
I think that it'll piss people off in the same way that everything pisses everyone off.
I was not pissed off at all with the end of Breaking Bad. I felt like I got closure. I let it go.
But just even subjecting yourself to the online landscape, it's like some people think How I Met Your Mother was brilliant for 4 seasons, then got terrible.
But there's also people that are just going to miss you.
I think maybe that's what they're saying. They get mad at you.
Why are you leaving?
Because they miss you.
Yeah.
And there has been a really deep emotional kind of outpouring of sadness over the show ending, which is, I think, a testament to us doing a good job.
No, absolutely. And you had your own sadness, and now that you've done it, and I've got to assume you're okay financially for a little while, you're going to go right into to writing and directing and making
I think
a
so.
movie.
I mean, I have a couple of other things. I'm going to do a play this summer.
Where?
at New York Stage and Film up at Vassar, this Richard Greenberg play.
What kind of production is that?
It's just it's where they kind of workshop new plays outside of the eye of the New York critics, kind of thing.
So you're just going to go do a little acting, get back on stage.
I was, and that was one of the places I went. I was 19 years old. I was an acting apprentice.
So
they brought me back like every 6 or 7 years. It's really, I think they like to trot me out for the apprentices and be like, see?
Yeah, he did all right.
You can do
Look
it.
at this kid.
You can do it.
Well, let's go back to that. So when you went to Tisch?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a real good one.
Yeah. Now, what was the program like there? I mean, because I can really feel that you seem to have your craft in place. I'm very impressed with with the tenor of your voice.
Oh, thanks.
But
my levels.
Yeah. But how did you evolve? Who were some of the kind of life-changing, outside of the Martin Short quote and watching other actors or seeing the subtlety of Sally Field? Who would you consider a mentor early on?
So when I went to Vassar, I was 19. It was
this before
this was
graduate school.
It was in between my sophomore and junior year at Kenyon.
Right.
So I went there for the summer. My father was actually revealed to me, he said, well, he's never acted outside of Ohio. He's going to get slaughtered by all these East Coast,
Isn't
geniuses.
it weird? Don't you feel on some level that there isn't a statute of limitations on what your parents can tell you about what was really going on?
Yeah. And it's constant. They reveal more things the older you get. And
it's crazy. God, wow. Eventually you're like, was my whole life a lie?
Yeah. You had a really robust inner narrative going on about me that I had no idea.
Thank God.
You have
the question is maybe they should just keep it to themselves.
Yeah. So but they do become more. They disclose more as the years go on. It's true. It's true. So I was there that summer, and we had they did 2 Shakespeare
and your dad was
productions.
counting on you failing.
Exactly. In a way, yeah. He just thought he'll go to law school eventually.
For sure.
And I ended up getting Macbeth I ended up getting the lead of one of the Shakespeare productions. And I remember calling my parents on the payphone, and they were really stunned, and I don't think entirely happy, maybe. Right. this thing's continuing. But I had a great summer there, and I had one of the great things about being at Vassar, and one of the things I try to do, I go to the apprentices production, because I remember when there's a great actor, Peter Frechette. Do you know Peter Frechette? He was on 30-something. He's just an amazing stage actor. And Jane Kasmerick, who was on Malcolm in the Middle, not at that point. But they were two, I did running crew for a production they were in, and they were 2 people who came and saw me in these productions. And they both separately pulled me aside and said, you're going to be an actor. You're going to do this. They said, not everyone here is going to do it, and you're going to do it. And to me, 19-year-old Ohio boy, to see 2 actors that I thought were amazing, I felt like I got a secret handshake, you know. And those are the kinds of things that you bottle up, you put them in the deepest place inside you to pull out on a rainy day. The days that are so dark, and you're like, why did I do this? I'm not talented. I'm not. And you remember, no, someone actually said you're going to do this, and until you can generate it yourself, you almost have to depend on those external sources.
Interesting.
And it was really it was a powerful summer for me, because I went back to Kenyon even more resolved about doing this professionally. It wasn't like a maybe. It was like, I'm doing this.
And that's also great to see actors who have had careers in film and in television, still going back to the stage and understanding, I think, as an adult, that it is a profession. Because I think when you're younger, you're sort of like, I'm just going to go be in a movie.
Right. Well, I also think there's a lot of, the feeling, because good acting makes it looks easy, and because it looks like life, a lot of people think they can do it.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure, it's with comedy too.
Yeah. So I feel like, I really try to tell people, I was not discovered in a coffee shop. I went to school the way you go to law school or med school.
How long were the graduate program?
3 years.
So it's 7 altogether.
Round the clock. Yeah.
And then you come out here.
Well, I was in and around New York for a little while.
Doing what?
Doing
stage?
Theater.
Shitty, experimental?
No, good. I got my equity card at Manhattan Theater Club off Broadway, understudied, took over a role actually when the actor left. I did an Eric Bogosian play at Baltimore Center Stage.
Which one?
It's called Griller. It never came into New York.
But what's interesting about him, and what I imagine that you learn from somebody like him, is that he's a phenomenal talent, both as an actor and as a creator. But, if you spend time with him, you're like, oh my God, he struggles with himself.
Oh my God, yeah.
And he's completely kind of, at once insecure and confident.
But that's also, in some ways, that's a relief.
No, I know.
Because you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want my artistic heroes to just be like saints. I want them to feel real, and that's why you like them.
Yeah, I don't gravitate towards any saints.
Yeah.
I think mostly the opposite of saints.
Right.
That guy had a hard time. I like him.
Right. Share your struggles with me.
Well, so you work with Bogosian.
I worked with Bogosian.
I
didn't work for 6 months. I auditioned for everything in New York, and then I went to Vassar.
Is that when you had the sort of like, what am I doing? Like, tell me about those times where you say you struggle and you have to hold on to these little tidbits.
Yeah,
of support.
Yeah, and you one of the things I learned early on was like, I can't sit around with other grad school grads and complain about how hard it is to be an actor. Like, I found that it was such a cycle. It's like a fragile, your psyche's so fragile as an artist.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to submerge myself in all that negativity.
Because it'll beat you.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, it's not, people don't quit acting because acting's hard. They quit acting because not acting's hard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unemployment's tough. It's like, I said it's like a life of snow days.
Yeah.
You wake up and I was actually making enough to not have to do another job.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't have to do another job. So, and then I started writing because I had hours to fill.
Yeah.
I had days and days to fill.
Writing as opposed to, like, waking up late, smoking weed.
Exactly.
Hanging out with guys going, we're fucked.
Yeah. I tried that on for a while and I was like, this is not working.
No. Well, that's good. That's that party that didn't want to be a terrible person.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because there's no way for you not to absorb, like, you can lock into that type of cynicism, to that sort of self-loathing.
We're really contagious as our psyche. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, absolutely.
I think you have to be careful about what you're going to subject yourself to.
Yeah, and be big enough or at least self-aware enough to pull out of it. Because I was cynical and bitter and insecure for years.
Yeah,
and sometimes it takes some success to make that go away. Unfortunately.
Yes, I think that's right. I think that's right, or at least little tastes of it along the way.
That's right.
So yeah, and I had a couple little breaks, I got fired from my first pilot.
What was that one?
It was called Off Centers on the WB.
So you moved out here, but
I got my first pilot I auditioned for.
You had representation.
Yeah. I got my first pilot I auditioned for. We shot it.
Yeah.
I got fired. I got replaced.
That's rough.
And then
Welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah. Then I went back to New York, did 2 plays, came back. I think I did a Law and Order. Then I got this Sally Field show that got canceled after 6 episodes. And then, or 3 episodes they aired. We shot 6. Then I went back to New York and I got The Graduate on Broadway with Kathleen Turner and Elisa Silverstone.
How was that?
It was great. It was over 3 months. It was like the greatest summer theater gig ever. Like, I didn't have to get reviewed.
On Broadway?
Yeah, it was a big hit. I just jumped in. 2 weeks of rehearsal.
You replaced somebody?
I replaced Jason Biggs.
Jason
he
Biggs.
did a Woody Allen movie, so I got to take over while he was doing that. And then I came back out to LA,
Always on the stage, man.
Yeah.
You really got a foot in that.
Yeah, it's where I feel the most. It's where I feel like I know what I'm doing the most.
I think that's rare, in a sense that, like, a lot of movie actors, they can't do it. They can't do this. I'd love to. I know Cranston's. Did you go see him as LBJ?
I haven't been yet. No, but I hear it's great.
Is it? I just saw it. I didn't know about it, but I was in New York when you were there. What was it, last week?
Yeah.
And I saw the sign for it. I'm like, that'd be interesting.
That guy's a great actor.
I've talked to him in here, and you know what's amazing about him in terms of what we're talking about and sort of what you're talking about is just how, like, his work ethic, and he's got this sort of utilitarian kind of, like, it's my job.
Yeah. But the great ones are like that. They're like craftsmen. They just go from town to town. They do their job, and they don't get too crazy about it. And even if something's not great, they're like, this one wasn't great. You know what I mean? They can move on.
Right. And it's not, their whole life is not hinging on it.
No, I'm a little too precious about that. I actually admire that kind of thing. Cause if I'm doing something.
A gig's a gig?
Yeah. If I'm doing something that I hate, it's like, I can't enjoy my hours even when I'm not there. Cause I'm like, oh God, I gotta go back there.
Have you had a lot like that?
No, I've been thankful that I haven't.
All right. So you do the 3 pilots and the 3 shows and they get, so your 4th one was How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine you've gone through a whole evolution as a person while you stayed in this character.
I know. That's actually been really hard because it's like you're evolving so much faster than the character's evolving.
Right.
So you almost feel like this is going to sound kind of condescending, but you almost feel like I'm a PhD candidate and I'm doing the SATs or something,
right.
Where you have to go back.
Yeah.
And, But the character's great. I found the longer I played him, I felt distanced from him more, and he was more fun to play when I wasn't thinking he was some version of me.
Right. Right. I felt that too with the second season of the show.
But the problem was that if you play a role and you play it fairly successfully, and my independent films weren't like global box office sensations, so it's not like everyone saw me do other things.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get overly identified with a part, and that becomes the challenge of the next phase of your career.
But yeah, also it's interesting because in the landscape we are in now, where it's a hit show, but it's a big media landscape. Yeah. I mean, that identification is going to be specific.
Yeah,
like there's going to be people that don't identify you with that at all, and just know that about you.
Right. I mean, I always try to remember, if 9 million people watch How I Met Your Mother a week, it's like, well, like 290 million Americans are not watching it. So it's like, I'm hearing from the people who watch it, but like, there's plenty of people that I'm just like a guy at the airport.
And that's
or whatever.
Comforting, right?
And that actually is comforting, you know?
That you still have that.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to remember.
And you don't travel with an entourage?
No, not at all. Not at all.
You came over here alone.
I did. You can vouch for that. But now it's just a matter of how much can my restlessness, like how much time can I really take?
What would be a dream gig? I mean, outside of directing a movie, which you're gonna do, and writing these things. But I mean, who would you like to work with? If you were to do a film, and who would, what director? Do you want to do a Woody Allen movie? Do you want to work with like Martin Scorsese? Do you want to work?
I'm like a Richard Linklater fan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see that movie he shot over like a decade. Did you hear about that movie, Boy?
No.
It was Ethan Hawke and I think Patricia Arquette and this kid.
Yeah.
And they started shooting when he was like 7 or 8. And they go through they shot 3 days
like that
every
documentary.
Year. Yeah.
What's it called? Something
7 Up,
7 Up,
14 Up. Yeah. They shot like for like 3 days every year. Mm-hmm. So it's like this unbelievably innovative project. I mean, I just think I love what he's up to. I just think he's always worth.
That seems like something you could do.
To do that?
No, to talk to Richard Linklater and say, put me in a movie.
Maybe I will.
Well, I mean, you don't have to say it like that.
Maybe I will.
Maybe instead of having dinner with Martin Short,
I'm going to say, Martin, do you know Richard Linklater?
Yeah, can you give me his number? I think I met him once. You've never met him before?
I've been like at places with him where I'm 2 feet away. Do I tap him on the shoulder and interrupt the conversation he's in kind of proximity?
Yeah.
And I've always chickened out.
Isn't that weird? Like here you are in like this massive hit show, with national recognition. You got chops. You're fucking solid, but there's still party that's like, I don't want to bother Richard Linklater.
Well, of course, but also like, I suspect he doesn't watch How I Met Your Mother.
No,
although Quentin Tarantino does. It's his favorite show, which I thought was really interesting.
Did you get to meet him?
I haven't met him yet, but he's a big fan, and he is also a fan of Jill's movie, so he knows who I am.
Well, see, would you like to be in one of his movies?
I actually am a big Tarantino fan.
It's hard not to be, sort of mildly obsessed with what he does.
I think he makes great movies, like in the most, he just makes great movies.
Well, yeah, no one does what he does.
No.
And,
and I also generally don't like really violent things, but for some reason his violence, it doesn't bother me.
He's got an elevated sort of bizarre sense of humor and force to anything he does. Like there are some movies where it's like, I could maybe not like 20 minutes of it, but then there's another 20 that are like beyond anything I've ever seen before. And then, but the method, the way of dialogue and the pacing of things, and sort of how erratic he can be is pretty astounding.
I also think his villains are so like archetypally bad.
Yeah.
So when they die, you find yourself cheering in almost like it's like a Greek play or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like his editing, like if you watch, it's like Scorsese too. Like, when I watched Wolf of Wall Street, I was so relieved that, he had gotten his, either he's going to do his thing, that sort of manic momentum with the layers of music and it's so gratifying. The same with Tarantino. He's got a very unique fucking momentum. You just feel like, everything's loaded up.
You also kind of have that feeling that like he really knows what he's doing. So you can relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like some films are a little bit like watching a waiter with like carry 10 plates.
And you're like,
they're not in total control of this.
Yeah.
And he just really knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing, and also he'll push the limits of it. Like, you know, he knows what he's doing and he's obviously very efficient. Then all of a sudden he does something or like, what the fuck?
I know. So you're never ahead of it.
Nope,
and
never.
you just feel kind of.
That's a good thing.
I saw Django on Christmas Day with two of my friends. Like, you know, big cup of coffee. It's like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Perfect seats. And it was just, it was as pleasurable a time as I've had going to a movie in a really long time.
Oh yeah, it's astounding.
Yeah.
Like, it's astounding how he can go in and out of sort of, like, it's all within his vision, but there are some things where like he'll do like 3 or 4 minutes in a movie where like that was stunning, that was like European.
I know. I also think his film vocabulary is larger than anyone's.
That's where it is.
So he just is drawing on a limitless well.
He's not ashamed to do it. That's his style.
Yeah.
Is this amount? You know,
that's something I've had to do in the last couple of years. Is like give myself film school because I'm a proper actor and that's where my training is. So I think I have storytelling instincts from being inside of a lot of scripts and characters. But cinematically, I've had to really educate myself.
Well, how do you do that?
I get, like, I order a lot of Criterion Collection and really try to watch those movies and just fill in the blanks.
Like what, the Bicycle Thief?
Yeah, the Bicycle Thief.
Rome Open City.
I got that. I haven't watched it. Is that good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I got all the, Louis Malle. Have you seen Murmur of the Heart?
No.
Oh my God, you gotta watch this Louis Malle movie.
Yeah?
It's nuts. It's kind of like, Spanking the Monkey before Spanking the Monkey. It's like a mother-son.
Maybe
it's fantastic.
I did watch that,
that movie really has stayed with me.
What other ones, man? So you're going through like the
film? I mean, I had such big gaps. I mean, I saw it a couple years ago, but I'm obsessed and I've now watched it many times. The Apartment is one of my favorite movies. Unbelievable.
Great.
On the Waterfront, I haven't seen, which is so good.
It's crazy.
It's crazy good. And sometimes I go into these a little trepidatiously where I'm like, okay, this feels like homework.
Yeah.
But then on the Waterfront, you're just like, this movie works completely.
Yeah, and you can watch it again and again. That's the weird thing, because like on some of the airplanes, I don't remember if it's Virgin or whatever, where they have the classic collection of movies.
Yeah. I always watch those.
Right, so I haven't seen this in a while.
Yeah. I've got like a bunch kind of queued up that I need to
watch.
And
how do you study it? What do you think?
I mean, I just watch it and I try to kind of let it wash over me, and then I ask myself some questions like, why did that work? Mm-hmm. What was interesting about that? What kept my attention? What didn't keep my attention? Mm-hmm. 'Cause, I think some things are, some of those movies are really, you watch some of those 70s movies, right, where you think, this must have been, at its time, like an explosion went off in the theater.
Right.
But you watch it now and everyone's built upon that.
Yeah.
So it seems like you can't understand the force when you're divorced from the time that it came on. I mean, when I grew up, it was like John Hughes era.
Yeah.
And I still think those movies are
missed
great.
a lot.
I mean, The Breakfast Club I watched again. Have you not seen The Breakfast Club?
Sure I have.
Yeah.
I think I've seen them.
Yeah.
And I've seen The Breakfast Club a couple of times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great movie when you're a teenager.
Yeah. Or like Spielberg was big, like loomed large, or,
Dude, to watch like fucking, I just watched Jaws part of it last night. And, like Jaws, Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Like I get hung up on the idea of why he used Francois Truffaut as this intermediary. To me, it was such a, like in my mind, I always assume that it's like some sort of, kind of a multi-layered tip of the hat, because Truffaut is the guy that comes in with the technology to communicate through sight and sound,
right,
with the aliens, and he's got Truffaut, the guy who was part of the French New Wave, who defined the auteur theory, and there was a magazine called Sight and Sound out of France that sort of documented the original auteurs. And I'm like, Spielberg's so smart. That's why he put him in there.
Well, it's fun to kind of in-joke in movies.
Yeah. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if I'm
sure there's something. I mean, it's also cool that you can call up your heroes and say, do you want to spend a month with me in New Mexico where they filmed that,
Yeah. I think like he is, you can criticize him all you want, but like, what a fucking dude has got
he's a genius.
It's beyond anything I can even.
And one thing I learned from him, and I keep trying to remind myself, is like simple, like his images are just simple, but like so powerful. He doesn't overcomplicate things in a way. It's like he really just juxtaposes images that tell the story and get your heart racing or make you cry or whatever. Like, it's very simple, but he's masterful at it.
Well, it's interesting to see the guys that really set out to make box office smashes. Like he clearly wants to make big movies.
Right, but Always. It doesn't feel at the expense of your intelligence.
No, not at all.
You know?
But then you look at like Scorsese, who was like, where did that guy come from?
Right.
Where the fuck did Taxi Driver come from?
No.
When was the last time you watched fucking Goodfellas?
Oh, I have it. I actually watched about half of it
It's
kind of
great.
recently. Yeah.
I watch it like twice a year.
Yeah.
I watch the first two Godfathers every year.
Yeah.
Like the second Godfather. What is that? That's fucking, it's all in there.
Yeah.
Smart
yeah.
shit.
Those are not overrated movies, I think.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. I just, it's exciting to be excited about things. And,
Totally.
and
I agree with that.
And it's
better than thinking things are terrible and hating things.
being cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like when I'm sort of like, this is great. I love this.
I know.
And something changed in my heart and mind where it's sort of like, I try to look for the good things as opposed to like, dismissing things.
Yeah.
Because like the weird thing about being cynical or ironically detached is that, when you're sitting in front of something that someone spent, millions of dollars and put all of their fucking heart and mind into it and really put it out there, it deserves more than like, I don't know.
100%. I mean, when you actually start creating stuff, like really creating stuff that you're from the Kishkas, really, and then you naturally get a kind of hostile relationship to the marketplace and to critics because you feel like they're just like, next.
And then you're sort of like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
Your life is determined by what we do.
Exactly.
You're parasites.
Yes.
And, all you're there for is to sort of fuel a market or serve your own voice.
Right.
And it's,
there's a great thing I read about, the true critic is more loyal to the artist than to his audience. Like that's who he's writing for and to in some ways. It's like a shared dialogue or a love letter between you and the artist. And older critics used to do that. I mean, I think
I appreciate a good critic.
Like Pauline Kael, they said, I read something that said she was never better than when she passionately loved something. And nowadays, I feel like critics are their kind of rhetorical fireworks go off when they hate something and can take something down.
Well, the whole culture is based on provoking conflict or provoking controversy. That the media landscape has become so fragmented and competitive that they don't think that content is only that which has traction, and conflict has traction, and dumping on people has traction.
Yeah, and I also think that there's no, because the marketplace is so fierce, there's no kind of apprenticeship or sense of allowing a talent to grow and incubate something.
And also, with a good critic, you can, you learn things about yourself. Like, you
learn things about what you created, 100%.
And and if you trust a guy, even if it hits you hard, you're like, that's kind of right. Like I remember the New York Times wrote up my one-man show, and I was so excited because the only New York Times review I really got. And he basically said it was good, but and it was something about dramatic structure. He said, I didn't see the character transform. That within the hour and 15 minutes or hour and a half of my journey on stage, that there was no third act in a way.
Right.
That how does he transform? And I wasn't even thinking about that.
Right.
And at first I was like, but at the very end I kind of have an awakening. But
was that your open letter to the New York Times?
Yeah. Fuck you. I awakened. No, but transforming of character, where does that character go?
Yeah.
Is sort of essential to the story in some ways.
Sure.
Even if he doesn't go anywhere or he goes, that should read as a transformation.
Yeah. I got a really lovely review from Roger Ebert on liberal arts, and it was towards the end of his life, and I had a draft of a letter I was writing him to thank him, and he died, and I've always been sad about that, but it was another one of those things that you hold on to and kind of keep, because this guy Stephen Holden in the New York Times will not give it up for my movies on any level. I mean, he's just doesn't like me.
Yeah.
I think he's like, you stay in TV. He always compares my movies to sitcoms, which is like, dude, I'm on a sitcom.
Yeah.
Like that's so lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Roger Ebert wrote such lovely words about it, and at its best, I think criticism can do what it can illuminate what you've done.
That's what it's supposed to do.
That's what it's supposed to do. I don't think it's supposed to be like,
this sucks.
I summarized it and now like Holden he gave away plot twists in liberal arts that are kind of like a sweet surprise. Yeah. Like stuff.
So he's being a dick.
I don't know. I've never met the guy. I don't know why.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters. We're going to be dead in 100 years.
Well, but even those reviews matter less and less as time goes on.
There's a great Winston Churchill quote where he says, few things in life are as exhilarating as to be shot at without result. And I kind of feel like criticism is a little like that. It's like the bullets are whizzing by.
Right.
And you're like, they didn't get me. I'm going to create something else. Screw you.
That's a good way to end. Thanks for talking, man.
It was good to be here.
I really think I could have talked to that guy for a long time. I think I did talk to him for a long time. I hope you enjoyed that. On Thursday, the amazing Lewis Black is here. And once again, a lot of things I didn't know about Lewis. And I'll be honest with you, we had a very candid conversation about everything that led up to his break. A lot of stuff I didn't know. It's a very unique interview with Lewis Black. So that's coming up on Thursday. I love you all. Go to WTFpod.com. I believe we're probably going to get rid of the comments. That's starting to feel like the thing to do. That, it's not really community there. It's, randomly, a place for people to express shitty things, and then a few people express some good things, but, that's about the size of it. So I think that's going. So if you want to get your last licks in at the comments at WTF Pod, do that. As I said in the intro, get the app and upgrade the premium app for all the good stuff. And justcoffee.coop, always available at WTFpod.com. If you get the WTF blend, get a little on the back end on that one. I'm going to go in and see if I can get on the internet. Boomer lives!
When Dad needed help getting around, I became his driver. Any daughter would do the same. But soon enough, he needed help doing more things, and it was up to me to be his personal shopper and financial manager, too. And before I knew it, Dad moved in with me. So I became his cook, his personal assistant, his physical therapist, and even his nurse. When I started taking care of Dad, I didn't realize all the roles I'd have to play. But no matter what, I know I'm still his daughter.
We understand the many roles you play. And to help, we created an online caregiving resource center. At aarp.org/caregiving, you can find resources and connect with the caregiving community. Together, we can better care for ourselves and the ones we love. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to learn more. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What I say, you already know, but you don't believe. You won't accept, you don't conceive. When you're inside your car, you feel safest of all. Are you safe? Are you? 2 tons of sheet metal in your hands. 2 tons don't run on autopilot. You have a mission. It's no collision. Hold the phone. Don't text. You're angling to be next. Oh, you've done it before. What's the harm? Just this once, there's no alarm. Got your hands on the wheel? No big deal. Brothers and sisters, you won't see it coming. You're off the road. Your life explodes. It's not worth it. Don't do it. You only think there's nothing to it. Put it down. Hang up. Pay attention to highway action. Behind the wheel, there is no such thing as a small distraction. Join the conversation at decidetodrive.org, a public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who would rather help keep your bones strong than put them back together.
Hey folks, we're sponsored today by Netflix, where you can watch Aziz Ansari in front of a sold-out crowd at the iconic Madison Square Garden. It's his second Netflix special, and between his stand-up and Parks and Recreation, you can get a lot of Aziz on Netflix. This special has Aziz at the top of his game. The AV Club gave it an A rating and said Aziz managed to take sold-out Madison Square Garden and turn it into an intimate club. Check it out. Aziz Ansari live at Madison Square Garden is streaming now only on Netflix. All right, let's do the show, man.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fucksicles? How are you? I am Marc Maron. This is WTF. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your attention and support. Those of you who are hanging out, listening to this. Chris D'Elia is on the show today. If you don't know Chris, he's a comedian who, I think I did a live one with him a while back from Montreal, but I didn't really get to know him. I think I might have got to know him a little better this time. He's on that show Undateable on NBC. Season 2 of that show premieres next Tuesday, March 17th. Chris D'Elia, who, when I met initially, when I first got back to Los Angeles, he was, I guess, I don't know how long he's been doing it at that point, but he was this kind of weird, darty guy that used to wear a hoodie and just hang around the Comedy Store and not really hold eye contact very long and kind of just almost like couldn't stand still, really. I never had a good feeling about the guy. And I saw him around, and he started to get a little attention on stage, and it became one of those things where it's like, all right, let's talk, let's do it. So I talked to Chris D'Elia in a little while. But I'm going to talk to you first. Let me update you on some tour information for the Marc Maron Marination Tour, if I may, if you are interested. I don't know if you know, but I will be in Rochester, New York, or outside of Rochester, New York, at the Comedy Club on March 20th and 21st, doing 4 shows up there. And there are tickets available. So why don't you come on down if you're in that area. But I'm going to D.C., I'm going to Philly, I'm going to Boston, I'm going to Madison, Pittsburgh, Royal Oak, Michigan, outside of Detroit, Toronto, Austin, Houston, Dallas, Seattle, Vancouver, San Francisco, Asheville, North Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans for now. There's talk about adding more dates, more cities. Some second shows have been added in Asheville, North Carolina, just added a second show there. Seattle, Boston, Toronto. There are 2 shows in Philly. Things are looking up. Go to WTFpod.com/calendar for that. I got to get that thing in shape. I'm immersed in the last week of shooting my show. I'm exhausted. I'm not complaining. I'm just beat up, and this is my directing week. So I directed a bit yesterday and the day before. Today I'm directing all day. Very exciting. New skills. It's tricky to direct yourself because I'm a pain in the ass, and I don't take direction well, especially not for myself ever. So I just got to shut up, move through it. That's the weirdest thing lately about being as uncomfortable as I can be in certain situations. And there's this part of my brain that basically says, don't even pay attention to that. Don't even pay attention to the discomfort. It's just the way it is. It's not always going to be that way, but right now, it's just the way it is. Why focus on it? Why not just shut that part off, acknowledge it, and do what you have to do? All right? It's what? Big surprise. You're fucking uncomfortable. And that's the way I work. That's my work ethic. I'm uncomfortable, terrified sometimes, not as much as I used to be, and I'm just not going to pay attention to those things. I'm just going to plow ahead like a dumb person for the right reasons, if that makes any sense. Someone plowed their fucking car into me the other day. We're sponsored today by Casper. And let's be honest, mattresses are usually a pain to buy. Well, I got a Casper, and you want to know how I got it? They just sent it to my house after I looked at it online. And that's not because I'm reading their ads. That's what they do for everyone. They'll deliver it right to your door, and if you don't like it, they'll take it right back. But you know what? You're not going to send it back. Casper makes new hybrid mattresses that combine 2 technologies, latex foam and memory foam. Just the right amount of sink, just the right bounce, which makes for great nights and better days. They have a risk-free trial and return policy. Try sleeping on a Casper for 100 days with free delivery and a return policy with no hassles. That's 100 days in your home, not for a couple minutes in a showroom. Try it out! Get $50 toward any mattress purchase by visiting Casper.com/WTF and also use the promo code WTF. That's Casper.com/WTF, promo code WTF. I got one of them mattresses on the floor. So if I ever feel like I want to feel the way I used to feel when I woke up in college, I'll sleep on that mattress. I'm going to get out of the adult bed and I'm going to go in the other room, sleep on the floor, and wake up surrounded by records and books and things that I didn't finish eating next to my bed. I'd have to set the stage a little bit if I wanted to go that far. But it is a mattress on the floor. I put it there when my niece was in town, and now it's just there. You know, when I'm entertaining. It's so embarrassing sometimes in my house when I have guests come over. And they walk by that room, and there's just a mattress on the floor that isn't made. And there's no curtain on the window because I never put the curtain rod up. There's just a sheet hanging from the hinges of the window, tied in knots, hanging as a window, as a curtain. Mattress on the floor. And the records are in that room. And my closet. That's that room. And people walk by, like, I don't know what to say. Like, that's an art installation called Dorm Room. Called When Mark Worked at a Restaurant. So I can always do some time travel just by going in the doorway, in the hallway, the one right before the room I sleep in. Time travel. That's right. Maybe I should hang an apron or throw an apron on the floor by the bed for when I get up for work at the restaurant. I tell you, sometimes I miss that. I miss it. I miss getting up early, smoking some cigarettes, drinking some coffee, and just getting in an apron and getting all covered in grease, cooking pancakes and eggs. Breakfast, griddle cook. I miss it. Don't feel like going back. I'm not sure I could get the gig. But boy, that was good, man. Getting through a breakfast rush, getting through all those dupes, getting out of the weeds, just being covered in butter, if you do it right. I was never that clean a chef. I wouldn't call me a chef. Call me a cook, grill cook. But boy, that feeling of victory, man. So anyways, I got hit. My car got hit. I got rear-ended. And it's jarring. I'd forgotten that surprise. I'm always anticipating hitting something. I'm always anticipating hitting a car, hitting a person, hitting a curb, a wall, someone hitting me. But you don't ever really remember that sound and that feeling until it happens to you. And I was just waiting to go at a green light. And the light turned green. We were starting to move. There were two cars in front of me. And just like, kaboom! And I just flew back. Shit flew off the dash. And I flew forward. And then she hit me again. Bam! I don't know how that happened. But that undeniable, dense crunching of metal and that thud, and you feel completely out of control. That moment is sort of terrifying. Then it ended, and I looked behind me, and with that kind of like, how the fuck did that happen? It wasn't my fault. I wasn't texting. I was sitting there, wasn't moving. So I pull over, and this woman gets out of a Mercedes SUV, an old one though, and she's like, I don't know what happened. Her car's pretty fucked up. My car is all fucked up. Drivable, but big old dent, and it kind of buckled the side a little bit, hit the back end and buckled the side, and she's, going like, I had my glasses. And I'm like, what? My glasses, I don't know. My glasses came down. And I'm like, what is happening? She goes, why were you stopped? And I'm like, 'cause there's a car in front of me. But, we exchanged information. I'm glad nobody was hurt. And I'm not one of those guys. What kind of person? I guess there is a type of person. I've never been the type of person like would immediately, right when they got hit like that, would immediately be like, oh, my neck needs some money. I've never been that guy. Ever, even when I didn't have money. I was just, I was always sort of wary of lawsuits for no reason. I didn't see it as an entitlement. Hey man, you should get whatever you can no matter what. Personal morality is not important. Personal integrity is not important, man. Game the system. Take it. It's yours. But there is something great about having a car you don't give a shit about. That is a freeing thing. I don't give a fuck. That was on Sunday, and they haven't called me. I called the claim into her insurance company. There's no way that she can claim that it wasn't her fault, but and I'm not even mad at her, really. It's just an accident. I'm glad no one's hurt, but I don't give a fuck about my car. And in my mind, I'm like, maybe I can get enough money to sort of take the money to fix it properly and spread it around a little bit and maybe undent the whole car a little because it's all beat up from me, running into walls beside my driveway because I'm not paying attention. And yeah, I am proud to have a car I don't give a fuck about. And now it has character. It has character. It's scarred. It's wounded. But you guys, you might remember a while back, I talked to a guy named Denny Tedesco on this show. I was back on episode 517. He's the son of Tommy Tedesco, who was a member of the Wrecking Crew. And they were a group of studio musicians that were on just about every album from, Sinatra forward through the Beach Boys. I mean, they were all studio musicians here in L.A., and they're a fascinating group of people. And at that time, Denny was attempting to make a documentary about the Wrecking Crew. And he was working on it for 18 years. It was a real struggle. There were a lot of issues with music rights and other, roadblocks of this kind and that. And when I talked to Denny, he wasn't even sure if the movie was ever going to get released. It was sort of a heartbreaking conversation because this was his life's work, and he had some real problems. So he wasn't sure that it was going to happen.
All right, so 1996, I start this. I like to say 17 years ago, 17 years younger and 35 pounds lighter.
Uh-huh.
Basically, when I started in 96, Dad got sick. Right, he passes away in 97, and right after he passed, I put together a nice 14-minute teaser reel. I got Nancy Sinatra, I got Cher in it at this point, I got everybody going, but no one would touch this damn thing because the music. And they all said... The licensing. They said, you got...
Oh, my God, I didn't even think about that.
No, yeah. At that point, now the film's got 120 songs in it.
And what, 90 of them are hits?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah. 98%, exactly.
Yeah.
So I said I kept going to everybody, said, you're never going to get the labels and the publishers to agree on this. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I had to keep shooting and go on and carry on.
You have to have the music.
Right. You can't tell the story without it.
Right.
So you could talk about it. Well, it was going to be a shit documentary.
Right.
So I kept going, and no one would ever jump in. Finally, in 2006, I always talk about crossing that line where you went too far. And my wife thought we just made the most expensive home movie ever.
Yeah.
It was like,
how much you into it for?
Oh, at that point, $200,000.
Yeah.
And now, God, I don't even, I cringe because I look at, it's my house.
Yeah.
And, so we said, all right, let's make the one jump. Let's go for it. We got to get an editor, a producer / and so I got Claire Scanlon, who was my editor, and we cut this thing.
Yeah.
In 2008, we got into the film festivals.
Yeah.
Did it remarkably well.
Yeah.
Excuse it, easy for I could say. Won a lot of awards, and no one would touch it. But
couldn't distribute it. But
I
you
couldn't
could show it.
I could show it, but I paid for the festival use.
Yeah.
But we got Kickstarter finally came in. I needed like $350,000 to really do everything.
Yeah.
And I reached for $250 and got $300.
Yeah.
So we paid off the musicians union.
Okay.
I have a few more songs now. Now I'm hoping to God, as we,
You added a few songs?
No, we've paid, we only have a few more songs. I did actually add a couple more. Since you've seen it.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
I'm paying for it. Just don't tell my wife.
Yeah.
But what I had to do is basically, I still pay. Now I've only got maybe 4 songs left to pay and I'm done. I'm free, 100% own this thing outright.
Holy shit.
So I played by the rules. I did not, I've not released this film.
And your father would have appreciated that.
Absolutely.
He was a union guy. He got it.
So I'm just hoping to get this thing out there. I'm doing fundraisers. I'm doing private screenings. I've shown this film all around the world.
Well, got good news for Denny. And I'm proud to say that, after talking to him, that it's finally happened. The movie is going to be in theaters tomorrow, folks. They got all the issues straightened out and got a distributor, and now you can see the movie in theaters and very soon on DVD. You can go to WreckingCrewFilm.com to find out where it's playing. And I want to personally congratulate Denny Tedesco for hanging in there, man. He did it. It's a good story, man. It's a good story. And it's a good, like, someone should have made a documentary about Denny making the fucking documentary. It's underwear time, and I'm wearing mine. Are you wearing any right now? I'm wearing boxers. Do yours feel good? Yeah? Could they feel better? You bet your ass they could. They could feel 2 times softer than cotton. They could be from MeUndies.com. MeUndies is the most comfortable underwear you will ever wear. They fit great. They don't ride up on you. They keep you cool. No, seriously, folks. They actually pull moisture away from your skin. And MeUndies is environmentally friendly. The materials they use are sustainably sourced from the Austrian Alps. They use a CO2 neutral process with a low carbon footprint, and the production process saves water and energy. The most comfortable underwear for both you and the planet. Underwear like this typically retails for 2 times the MeUndies price, but with no retail middleman, that means less cost for you. Go to MeUndies.com/WTF and get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Save even more when you buy a pack of them. They guarantee you're going to be happy with them or your first pair is free. Once you feel MeUndies on your body, you're never going back, people. But to get that 20% off, you have to go to MeUndies.com/WTF. Oh, God. This season of Maron's going to be a trip, man. Going to be some surprises. We worked hard. I dug deep for the acting this week. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could do what I had to do, and I feel like I did it. I did it the best I could, folks. That's all you can do. The best you can do. All you can do is give it your all and not beat the shit out of yourself afterwards and say, well, that wasn't good enough. All right, let's talk to Chris D'Elia. Let me say what he's got. What has he got? Oh, he's got this new stand-up special called White Male Black Comic. You can get it on iTunes, Amazon, and at chrisdelia.com. For just $5, he's got the undateable thing. All right, let's talk to Chris D'Elia. Some people know Eagle Rock. That's sort of...
Yeah, but that's where this is?
Well, this is right over the hill,
okay, yeah.
basically.
I've been there.
Mean, you have?
Yeah, Eagle Rock, yeah.
What are you doing over there?
It was so long ago. I don't even know.
Did you grow up here?
I did, yeah. And that's why I know Eagle Rock. But when they sent me the email, they were like, it's near Eagle Rock. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that place.
Yeah?
So it's good it's still here.
From some weird part of your past?
Yeah. I grew up in La Cañada, you know, so, well, kind of, I mean, since I moved there when I was 12. So.
La Cañada?
Yeah.
That's like down the street.
Is it really that close to here?
Well, on the 2.
Yeah, on the 2, right, exactly, yeah.
Well, so you just drove by the exit of this place.
I did, now that I realized it was the 2, yes.
Right?
Yeah, I was just following GPS like an idiot.
No, but it's funny, though, like, there's some places, even where you grow up, where you're like, I don't know, I've driven by that area.
Oh, yeah.
For my entire life.
Yeah.
But I would never go there.
Yeah. Well, why would you go to La Cañada unless you lived there, really? It's like such a home.
Well, there's a gym that I just joined in La Crescenta.
Oh, really?
Which is down the street.
Oh, so it is that close. Wow. La Crescenta is like next to La Cañada. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. Right.
So it's like literally, like I just canceled my Y membership in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I can just drive.
That's too far.
It's like 10 minutes to La Crescenta from here.
That's funny.
Do your folks still live there?
Yeah, they live in La Cañada, yeah. I'll go there after this.
Will you?
No, because they're not. Oh no, they are there. Yeah, they just got back in town. Yeah.
Wait. So where'd you start out though? Where were you born?
New Jersey.
You're a New Jersey guy. I felt that.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first time I think I registered your existence.
Yeah.
Was I guess I moved back to Los Angeles 2002, and then I did the Air America stuff. Then I started going to the store, and I guess it was like 2006 or something, around there. You know, I knew a few guys there, but you were always like sort of looming around with a hoodie, not really talking. Right. Like you were like, this Chris, and I'm like, what does he do?
Yeah.
Very quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that guy?
I know. I have like a fear of like being involved. Like if there's a group already.
Yeah.
Which the Comedy Store is very much a fraternity place.
But it shifts though. I mean,
it does.
Ever evolving.
But I didn't know that going in, right? So when I went in, I was like, I just don't want to say the fucking wrong thing. Like I remember once, I actually have a memory of which maybe like made me the quiet person there on the Comedy Store. I was, I'm friends with Steve Rannazzisi right now. He's actually like, I love the guy.
Yeah.
but I didn't understand his style and vibe.
Yeah.
And I had been married for like a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah. When I started stand-up, I was married for about a year and a half.
What year was that?
2006.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Ranazizi was married like a month later,
right,
than I was, and so I overheard him saying, yeah, because I've been married now for about 6 months, and I said, and I just was like, that's a connection,
yeah,
you know,
right.
I mean, I didn't think that's a connection, but I was like, it's just conversation. This is how life is, so I'll say something now, and
this is how it works.
Yeah, and I said, oh yeah, no shit, me too.
Yeah,
and he said, oh yeah, when'd you get married? And I was like, well, I got married in August. And he said, oh, well, I got married in September. That was 7 months to me. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's just end of conversation.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I can't argue with that, but I mean, like, and then I was like, man, it's fucking rough out here.
I can't even get in on like a month off and I'm out.
Yeah, I know. And I've talked to Steve about that since, and I was like, yo, why did you say that? Like, who gives a fuck if it's 6 months or 7 months?
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know. He actually said, I don't know, probably because it wasn't fucking 6 months. And so I was like, yeah, I get it now. I get it here, and I get you now. But back then, I was like hypersensitive to like being the new guy.
So you were just awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I just I didn't know what you were up to, and I remember looking at you. I'm like, that kid doesn't even look like he can talk.
I know.
I mean, how the fuck is he going to be funny? That guy.
I know.
And literally, I just remembered you wearing a hoodie all the time.
I know, I did. I wore hoodies all the time.
And it was like you were just kind of lurking around.
Yeah.
But then again, like I never hung out and necessarily watched people, you know. So
right.
And then by the time I saw you, I'm like, that was that kid with the hoodie. Now he's jumping around,
he's screaming.
He's like huge. I couldn't fucking believe it. But your parents are both from Jersey?
Well, my dad's from Queens, New York.
Queens?
Yeah. And my mom's from Newark.
Oh, yeah, so you're real fucking East Coast.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So wait, but your dad was, he's Italian guy.
Yeah, my dad's Italian.
Like real Italian?
My mom's Italian. I'm half Italian, so whatever that equals.
What do you mean? So your mom's not Italian?
No, my mom's Italian and my dad's Italian, but my mom's also Polish, and I think my dad's Irish, too.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
So they're not like... You're not clear on
I'm
it?
American, you know.
No, I know. But you didn't have any of that in your family? You don't have like
my family, if I have an Uncle Vinny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when we go back, people are just like, hey, it's that.
That's your father's side.
Yeah. Absolutely. And my mother's side too, though. Like, they'll be like, you know, like I had a cousin Butch. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, real Italian shit.
Uh-huh.
Where it was like, I would watch The Sopranos and be like, oh, that's comforting.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. That feels like home to me.
Yeah.
So you grew up
and they would lie, you know,
yeah.
like my family would say shit like, yeah, you know, he's connected. And you're like, he's not, but okay. You know, like that kind of shit.
Every Italian family is like,
yeah.
they think they got the one guy.
Absolutely.
Stole a truck once.
Absolutely.
And that's it. So you grew up with that kind of like what, spaghetti and pasta and grandmother?
My dad would cook.
Yeah.
Pasta all the time. I mean, we had pasta probably, almost every day.
Did you have a grandmother?
Yeah, my mom's mom, Carmela.
Right. Yeah.
Another Italian.
Yeah.
Would cook. Yeah, she would cook the meat sauce.
I like knowing that you're from New Jersey. There's something about because my family comes from New Jersey, but you don't strike me as you're not. You know, I don't identify you as like kind of a Italian guy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think part of, well, you know me just from when I've been doing stand up, and I think that when I was, you know, now as a stand up, like I always feel like comedians are repping other places.
Right.
And I came up here and I want to be like, I'm from LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Because I started in LA.
Right.
You know, so,
and that's rare.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It is, I know. Well, and I know why now that I started in LA, because it's hard to keep the